Hello, everyone. This is Bryant with Amusement Source. You probably know us because we run SFOT Source, SFFT Source. But today we're actually going to look at Six Flags, the chain as a whole, because if you've been on the internet, you know things have been going crazy. So we're going to kind of break down everything in a few different categories. We're gonna try to trail along, tag along, go along, whatever you want to say. We're going to go over the numbers that they announced in their quarterly call. And then we're going to kind of put that up against competitor chains. So I use the term competitor lightly at this point. As you know, you probably know where I fall on this situation. We'll talk about what's actually happening inside of the parks, because we do have some information that we know about, at least from our local parks. And of course, we're not going to name where we got this information, but we are going to go over it because it's pretty important. And we're going to break down the quarterly call because there were a lot of just really bizarre things said. And finally, we'll kind of talk about some concerning stories taking shape just regarding Six Flags as a whole, regarding Salim Basul, which is the current CEO. And then we'll have maybe like a little question and answer. I'll try to answer questions as much as I can. But you know, we're all kind of on the outside looking in for the most part. And you know, if anyone watching this right now works for Six Flags, feel free to reach out to me privately. I don't want anyone to make themselves known in the live stream just because it seems kind of like a vengeful kind of work environment. So I don't want anyone to get themselves in trouble. There's already enough going on. There's already enough to worry about. So if you'd like to reach out to me in private to talk about something, feel free. I just don't want anyone to get in trouble. So first of all, we're going to go over the numbers. And, you know, it was pretty much kind of how we thought. There was really no sugarcoating it. Now, I am not a stock analyst professional, but I was, you know, I took some of the key points and, you know, looked at this. So we've got the EPS, which is the earnings per share. So the expected earnings per share for quarter two was 1.01, and they reported 0.68. So that's a negative 32.22% surprise. And in a scenario where you're talking about stocks, a surprise is just when something doesn't quite go the way it was speculated to go. So that could be on the positive end. That could be on the negative end. In this case, negative 32.22%. Very negative. So the revenue that was expected was $518.5 million. They only hit $435.42 million. That's what they reported. So that's a negative 16.02% surprise. And what I want you all to really think about as we go through this is the fact that Six Flags as a whole has 27 properties. That's the dry parks. That's the water parks. So we're talking about a lot of properties here. So revenue declined 5.3% and attendance dropped 21.2%. That's, you know, 21.2%. That seems like a concerning amount to me. Like I said, I'm no stock professional, but if, you know, somebody's got to be sweating somewhere over that number. Spending per capita, they said, did increase by 23%. Admission spending increased 26.7%, and in-park spending climbed 18.3%. So, you know, there's a few things to look at there. You got rid of dining pass, so naturally, if someone is hungry, they're probably going to buy food. And you raised your admission price exponentially. So by default, your admission spending is going to go up per person because it costs more money to go. So, you know, it's pretty straightforward. I wouldn't get too invested in those numbers because the price of things is going up. The freebies, like Salim likes to call them, are gone, and it's very clear nobody's getting anything for free except their dignity taken away. Anyways, So kind of the bottom line, CFRA analyst Zachary Waring recommended investors not to assume the initiatives will work, and we'll get into the initiatives here in a little while, given the current macroeconomic environment, and downgraded Six Flags to hold from buy. So he doesn't think anyone should buy stock in Six Flags. He states that Six Flags has yet to provide it can grow its top and bottom line with its new premium strategy. So keep in mind, some numbers I want you to keep in mind here. Just a little over 435 million in revenue, 27 properties. That's an important number in my book. So just keep that in mind, because what we're going to do now, drinking soda. What we're going to do now is actually compare them with the competitor chains. And I don't want to be rude, but, I have felt for a very long time that Six Flags is in kind of a rung of its own. I feel like Cedar Fair has really passed them by. And, Seaworld, it's kind of a completely different experience when you think about it. It's not so much, obviously there's a lot of local revenue being made there, regional revenue, but, it's a place that you're going to travel to. People from surrounding states are going to travel to SeaWorld because they want to see the animals. They want to get the animal experiences in. It's not really the same product, if that makes sense. So we're going to get to the comparing the competitor chains. So we'll start with SeaWorld. So one thing I want y'all to keep in mind, SeaWorld currently owns and operates 13 properties. So substantially less than Six Flags. And, that includes the SeaWorld parks, the water parks. That includes the Busch Gardens parks. And then, of course, you've got the Sesame Place parks. Their EPS was 1.56 expected. They reported 1.62. So that's a positive 3.96% surprise. Revenue, 504.35 million was expected, and they reported $504.82 million. So that's a 0.09% surprise on the positive end. Attendance was 6.3 million guests, increase of 500,000 from quarter two 2021, and the revenue was an increase of 65 million from quarter two 2021. So that kind of makes them look pretty good. I do want to say we just talked about SeaWorld. We're going to talk about Cedar Fair. Both of these chains claim that they have not reached attendance numbers that they had in 2019. So that's important to keep in mind. Attendance for these kind of regional and maybe it'll stretch a little bit beyond regional. They're not quite back to where they were in 2019 in terms of just kind of, how many people they're pumping through their parks. So, SeaWorld, 13 properties. We get to Cedar Fair. They have 16 properties. That's their dry parks. Cedar Point, Dorney Park, Knott's, you name it, it's on there. Kings Island, Kings Dominion, Carowinds. You've got your water parks, and then, that's what they have. Dry parks, water parks. So a lot of really well-known parks in that mix. A lot of high-quality regional parks. So their EPS was 1.43. So they reported 0.89, which is a negative 37.8% surprise. So not looking too hot there. Revenue, though, was 525.06 million expected, and they brought in 509.49 million reported. So negative 2.96 surprise. So they are on the negative end of kind of, what's expected of them. But in terms of revenue, they're not super far off. Attendance was 7.8 million guests, increase of 4.4 million from quarter two 2021. So that's a pretty big increase. And revenue was an increase of 110 million from quarter two 2021. So you look at Cedar Fair, 16 properties. You look at SeaWorld Entertainment, 13 properties. And both of these chains grossed more than Six Flags' 27 properties in terms of revenue. So that is pretty crazy. So, what we're going to move to now is what's actually happening inside of the parks because, Salim and the other people on the call, really tried to paint a picture of like, oh yeah, this is what's happening, that's what's happening, blah blah blah. We know, just based off of the amount of coverage we do at the parks, the fact that I have previously worked for Six Flags, we know that things aren't all gravy. So we're going to actually jump to what's happening inside the parks. We will do the breakdown of the quarterly call here in a minute because this stuff is a really good preface for when we get to that. So, things that haven't been a secret. Decrease in operating hours across the chain, self-inflicted staffing shortages, along with needing to save money on operational costs. These are all things that have been cited to me by high-level employees at Six Flags. Not only do they not have the staff to cover certain things, and then we've heard that they are, hey, let's close these rides an hour or two early or maybe open them an hour or two late because we don't want to spend the money on operating them, which is really concerning based off of the price point you are asking for at your front gate. So, attendance at Six Flags Over Texas, for example, averaged around 3,200 guests a day since daily summer operation began, and the highest number attendance was around 9,100 guests during summer operation. So they didn't even hit 10,000 guests this summer on any given day. Attendance at Fiesta Texas hasn't declined nearly as badly. We don't have an exact number on that, but that park has a lot of hefty year-long investments. You've got the 30th anniversary festival. You've got more live entertainment offerings than Over Texas. You have fireworks on select days. You have the brand new dive coaster that's breaking records and is really a lot of fun. So they've got a lot going for them. That's a lot of self-produced stuff because, that place is running like a well-oiled machine and they're kind of going against the grain. Parks are struggling to keep all their attractions operating, likely due to staffing issues, like I said. This creates an inconsistency for guests, Are you really going to spend that much money on a season pass, an annual pass, when, we don't know, are any of your marquee roller coasters going to be open? Am I going to go to Hurricane Harbor and, half the slides are going to be closed? Why would you spend that much money on that experience? It doesn't make any sense. It's also important to point out that Six Flags Over Texas brought back none of the events they featured last year. And then, of course, you've delayed the opening of Aquaman once again. So we're on year whatever of that. Pretty soon that Aquaman ride's going to be old enough to drive. Obviously, you have Pirates of Spelunker Cave, which is a great addition. But the push and the promotion of that was really minimal, especially once we got to 2022. So, we move on to kind of the more shocking part of what's actually going on in the parks. And, here's something that we know. Over 200 people have been laid off over the last couple of weeks. This includes multiple park presidents. I'm not talking one or two. I'm talking like 5, 6. And operations staff with decades of experience and expertise. They've been working at these parks for 20, 30 years. They know all the ins and outs. They know how to keep the place running. They know how to make the thing happen. These layoffs stack onto other detrimental layoffs that have already taken place throughout the year, such as the consolidation of their marketing director team. They now have, marketing directors that are running, 3, 4, 5 properties instead of focusing on one. So that's kind of crazy to me. I feel like marketing is a very valuable tool when you're when you've restructured your product and you're trying to reach out to new demographics, it's really crazy to think that, we don't need those people. Let's see. Accountable team members, and when I say accountable team members, I'm talking about full-time employees in the park. Those numbers are at a concerning all-time low. They're also trying to get ready for this. So if you're a seasonal employee, and this was happening at Six Flags Over Texas, I can't speak for the other parks, but they're trying to get seasonals to fill open spots in the park by offering them bonuses for coming in on their off days. So just keep that in the back of your head when we get to the call, because that's pretty wild that you're basically bribing people to come in on their days off. And days off are important, especially when you're working outside every day. So in my opinion, that's really going to affect the morale and just kind of the overall functionality of departments in the park. So we've gone over the numbers. We've compared them. We've looked at what's happening inside the parks, which is fairly concerning. A lot of people want to give Salim Basul a lot of trouble, and I don't disagree with it. But let's keep in mind that when Mike Spanos came on board, he also did a round of layoffs. So we're kind of looking at an unprecedented number of layoffs when the product should be flourishing. It's obvious people are out, people are traveling. Just go to an airport, look around, look at pictures from Disney, Universal, look at pictures of beaches. It's not like people aren't going out and doing stuff. So we're gonna move to breaking down the quarterly call. This is where things got really interesting. Gotta keep the drink flowing here. So. It's important to note that the things I talk about from this quarterly call, it's all kind of paraphrased. I pulled out some things that really, I found interesting, and I just want to kind of go through them. So to open, when they open the quarterly call, they discuss delivering significantly more rides per guest versus last year. And employee staffing levels and overall friendliness have improved. I don't know how you say the employee thing has improved when you're laying them all off. And there are several employees at Six Flags Over Texas that are still making under $10 an hour. So it's very clear that the increase in pricing has not gone to treating your employees better. And of course, delivering significantly more rides per guest versus last year. Yeah, there's way less guests in the park. So if you go and it's dead, obviously you're going to get on a lot more rides. That's pretty obvious. Bump the microphone. Sorry about that. Salim also cites park appearance and makeovers. Of course, this began under Mike Spanos, and when we got to this year, we have clashing paint schemes. We have cheap new facades they're not the facades that were planned, advertised. They're just kind of cheap shells of what they were. They also say that they've added more benches and shaded areas. I don't think they've added more shading areas. They've definitely added more benches. They've added more benches, tables. That's nice, but you have no, at least at Six Flags Over Texas, you have no indoor entertainment, so there's no way to get away from the heat there. And then attractions that did have air conditioning, like Casa Magnetica, they decided that was just too hard. We're not going to operate Casa Magnetica during the summer. And I don't want to make this personal about the park, but it's reflective of how corporate is running things. They had discussions about upgrading guest-facing technology. An example given is upgrading a daily ticket to a season pass should be as easy as a touch of a button. So I'll believe that when I see it. That's not going to happen, I can tell you right now. They cited that full-time employees have been cut by 25% and say that it is to minimize costs. However, their food costs are still higher than competitor parks, and admission pricing has increased substantially. I think someone may have said it in the chat. You can actually get a meal at Disneyland right now that is an edible meal, and it's cheaper than getting a meal at Six Flags Over Texas, where you have absolutely no idea what the quality of it's going to be. If there's any kind of there's no quality control. So just keep that in mind. A lot of those prices increased because they're giving away too high of a discount on their top level memberships, and they had to counteract that by increasing the pricing of the food so that they could actually make some kind of money back on it. However, even though they've lost a lot of their membership base, none of those prices have gone back down. Other than like the coffee shop at Six Flags Over Texas, that's pretty much the only fairly priced thing out there right now. Let's see. There should be a huge concern that less experience is currently operating properties where safety and functionality is of highest regard. That was a note I put in here. You get rid of all these full-time people who have that accountability in mind to make sure operations are safe and efficient and consistent, and now it's all falling on part-time, seasonal. I think that's going to come back to bite you at some point in time. Getting rid of the dining pass and no bring-a-friend free tickets were blamed for lack of attendance. They also blamed spring break and Easter timing for lack of attendance. And if y'all have seen the Yahoo article, it says that Six Flags blamed Jesus for their lack of attendance, which is hilarious. And obviously, reducing debt is the top capital priority right now. Salim states that they'd like to bring a fraction of daily ticket buyers up to annual pass level. I mean, yeah, Theme Park 101. You want to bring people back. I don't know. There's nothing really cutting edge about that. He also states that the dining pass eliminated at least 1 million guests, but also references up to 2 million, which seems like a really drastic variance. So there was one point where he said around 1 million, and then he said up to 2 million. Like, you might want to know that number. They say that their pricing is still lower than their competitors, though they really haven't had a competitor in several years due to quality of product. They cite better spending per guest, but also note that it isn't actually increased revenue because there are substantially less of them in the park. They say that they want to connect their parks to their communities, but they offer no insight on how they plan to accomplish that. And then Salim made sure we knew, no more days of heavy discounting and freebies. We just can't be doing none of that, okay? Salim states that their staffing was not optimized. There weren't the, quote, the right mix of employees working inside the parks to help with their financial initiatives. I don't even know what that means. You're understaffed to death. Like, you can't open all the rides. Dining locations are closed. Shops are closed. Your park hours on a Saturday, you should be open more than 7 hours. So that's pretty crazy. Salim still blames huge traffic jams and abuse of the dining pass as reasons it went away. He said it alienates the paying guest. He also blames a lack of good technology to manage the dining pass. However, Six Flags currently effectively monitors dining pass usage with timed intervals between lunches and dinners. Have you ever gotten a lunch at 1 p.m. and then tried to go get your dinner at 1:30 p.m.? It's not going to let you. So I'm not really sure where this is coming from. That's not new technology. They've been doing this for a while. Let's see. The other ironic thing about the dining pass is right now they offer a 10 mil dining plan with the highest pass level, and it has no timing or daily limit on it. So you could walk into the park with your 10 meal dining plan and get all 10 of those meals whenever you want. Just keep that in mind. They want to bring back a new dining pass system with better technology. I have no idea what that means. Salim cites that they want to get rid of the rowdy teenager and young adult base because they don't spend enough money in the park. I'm a young adult. I give them quite a bit of money. He says families are where it's at, which, yeah, they are when you're running a theme park. Right after he says he doesn't want teenagers and young adults, he says that they want to put a big drive on influencers, including TikTok, which would mean a younger crowd would need to be engaged in the product. So we'll just keep running around that carousel, I guess. I don't know. When... I'm just looking at my notes and they're kind of funny. Let me try to clean this up. So there was this weird classist scenario that happened in the call. And I'm only going over this because I don't know who actually listened. So he said they don't want to target the Walmart customer, but they want the clientele who shop at Target instead. They want to hit affluent neighborhoods who have never been targeted before, and they want mom bloggers. I don't know about y'all, but when I'm planning a theme park trip, literally all I do is look for moms who are blogging about them, especially Six Flags. I want to know what my mom's take is on riding New Texas Giant. That's for sure. So there, when they got to the Q&A of the call, one of the investors asked about, you've got Cedar Fair and you've got Seaworld. They're investing back into the park with new large-scale projects. I'm sure you all saw Cedar Fair did a lot of announcements this past week. We're getting new park areas. Cedar Point's getting a whole new boardwalk with a Wild Mouse coaster. You've got Canada's Wonderland. They're getting a children's roller coaster and a big flat ride. You've got Worlds of Fun that's getting a wooden roller coaster that looks super awesome. And, you've got SeaWorld Orlando. It's getting a stand-up coaster, a surf coaster, which is a high-dollar coaster. They're doing something crazy at SeaWorld San Antonio. We haven't got an official announcement yet, but, something crazy is going on there. So he got pretty defensive about that question because it was kind of the first question that really did more than just kind of PC asked about, revenues or why this or that's happening. So he downplayed the need for new attractions. He says that most parks have around 10 to 18 roller coasters and that the guest satisfaction has increased on surveys. Who has gotten a survey recently from Six Flags? I actually got... So it's obvious how often I go to Six Flags a year because I film it. I have gotten one survey this year, which was from the most recent visit this past weekend. It's the only survey I've gotten in 2022. And I was not very nice in the survey. So I don't know what surveys are being fed to him, but I have a feeling they're not from... I don't know. Also, I did want to point out, when called out about the competitor park investments, Salim fell back on the fact that they just opened Wonder Woman at Magic Mountain and Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger at Fiesta Texas. And then he also cited Aquaman at Over Texas as being new, but it's not open, so I don't really know how you tout that as being the new thing that you put in this year. That's just how he worded it. That might not have been what he meant, but that's how it was worded. So, Salim mentioned an Oktoberfest event multiple times, and I was a little bit confused by this. He says he hopes to see everyone at Oktoberfest and Fright Fest. So, I did yesterday, I don't know about today if something popped up, but I did a Six Flags Oktoberfest Google search yesterday, and nothing came up. So, someone should probably tell Salim what Halloween events they are doing this year so that he knows, because I'm sure he's going to want to cut some stuff. So, ironically, Fiesta Texas, their All-American Food Festival was canceled, and then the beer festival that they had planned for Fright Fest was also canceled. So, I don't know if Oktoberfest is supposed to be a food festival, but I don't think it's happening because apparently we don't like those things. It definitely doesn't fit into the premium experience. Obviously, Salim knows what he's talking about. So there were some things that popped up. Some concerning stories that are taking shape. And that's kind of what we're going to move on to next. So if anyone gets on Reddit and looks at anything I do from time to time, there were some hashtag step down Salim articles. So we're going to kind of breeze through those right now. These look like they're from anonymous park employees, former employees. This employee in this first step down Salim letter thought that Six Flags had a great year in 2021. Salim originally stated spending was out of control when he became the CEO. He didn't take the time to learn why and where the money was being spent. He complained about a 300-page report that was submitted to the board and then told us he doesn't read reports. Obviously, they think probably no one has read the reports. Obviously, if you've been to the Six Flags parks last year, you've seen what it's been spent on. Rehab, repair of the infrastructure that's been neglected. Salim had a lot to say in a later virtual town hall. He made some good points, which all of us agreed with, but much of what he went on about was absolutely ridiculous. He would have heard everyone at the park laughing at him if the parks had not been muted. He went on length about guests wanting 2-ply toilet paper. He spent a great deal of time complaining about guests dumping ice from their cups into the bushes. He rambled on a lot about wanting various things that aren't going to generate revenue, only decrease it. He's talked about including his past successes as a business person, talking about how he implemented a bonus program at his previous company. But this employee is saying we would never achieve the goals necessary to qualify for the lack of leadership that's taking place. Salim made it clear he realized he has a lot to learn and would rely on those of us who have lots of experience in the business to teach him. But obviously he's eliminated layers of team members. I'm not going to name any names. Obviously you have all the park presidents reporting directly to him. They say any park president that's given them an idea, they usually get fired. And then now he can't seem to understand why nobody offers suggestions anymore. That's probably what happened at Six Flags Over Texas. If I had to guess. Obviously, I don't have the inside scoop on that. They freezed wages in 2022 after they already went 2 years without wage increases due to COVID. Nobody complained about the 2-year freeze because obviously, COVID, you're going to be patient. You're just happy to have a job, that type of thing. Let's see here. Looks like he finally backed down and gave most hourly's employee a wage increase, but did not give any salaried employees wage increases. Obviously, performance at Six Flags continues to plummet, as well as the stock price, and we continue to lose experienced and skilled labor. We can't hire enough people to run all of our attractions and retail locations. It's becoming increasingly difficult to hire skilled labor to maintain our infrastructure and rides. We're hiring bodies at this point to fill positions. A high percentage of people we're hiring aren't able to perform well, but we don't really have a choice. And it's severely impacting service we offer the guests. What's the number one thing people come to Six Flags for? Rides. They don't have enough people to run the rides. Let alone maintain and inspect them. We're losing valuable labor there too. More are preparing to leave. Some of the people inspecting the rides are certainly trained and qualified, but don't necessarily have enough experience to adequately perform a thorough inspection. I'm not going to speculate on the safety of anything. That's not my place to do. But this is a person from the inside. Yeah, essentially, Salim is looked at as a laughing stock. I didn't say it, this person did. There was another open letter for Salim, which is rumored to be written by a past park president who recently left. He said, Salim fired a 16-year-old at a park because he didn't like how that 16-year-old responded when he asked them how they were. Operations are generally neglected, especially food service, which is in shambles, and it's only gotten worse. I don't even think he visited theme parks prior to taking the helm of our company due to his fear of roller coasters. Obviously, there's nothing worse for a company than installing a CEO who genuinely doesn't understand a company and its product. I wouldn't share these sentiments if it weren't for the way he came in swinging, swiping, cutting, all while blind. Salim's goal has been to increase our prices to be on par with Universal Studios and Disney and generate their numbers and revenue. Obviously, I love Six Flags just as much as some of you. They're not Disney. They're not Universal. They never will be. They're very far behind. Now our customers are turning away to Cedar Fair and other theme parks. We're suffering incredibly low staffing, causing rides, food service locations to be closed, and even more neglect to the park. So we have less to offer than before, but we've raised all of our pricing. Guests pay to enter, then they pay to sit, specifically at Hurricane Harbor, then they stand in 1-hour lines to pay outrageous prices for food. This person said that the food's on par with McDonald's, which I have had several meals at a Six Flags park where it's not even on par with McDonald's. Terrible wages, parks look disgusting. So, I'm not going to get into. There's a lot of opinions in this article that I'm going to let that person hold on to. I got a couple more concerning things that I want to get to. So, there was supposedly an internal phone call that happened with Salim, and this was posted the other day. Salim has said that the clientele of the parks needed to change. He compared Six Flags to Walmart with the goal to become Target. He said that in order to be successful, we needed to eliminate, quote, lower class guests from entering the park to improve the overall experience better for those with more money. In one call, he alluded that the dining pass, quote, abusers shouldn't use the plans as an add-on to the food stamps they are likely already receiving. Take that as you will, but that definitely seems very derogatory. Obviously, Six Flags attracts all kinds of guests, which is kind of what's fun about it, is because it was obtainable for everyone. Was it a little too obtainable? Probably. But the weird classist thing with the food stamps, come on. You're running a company that is supposed to, reach out to everybody and provide an experience where everyone feels like they can come in. So, to go on top of that, there was an article published, I believe it was like this past February, right? And it talks about how Salim ate like hundreds of burgers and chicken strips. I ate 100 burgers, 200 pizza slices, and 100 chicken tender orders in first 100 days. So what you're saying is you wasted a bunch of food, which is why you told people that we needed to get rid of the dining pass because people are wasting it and abusing it. Okay. So here's the last one, and this came from an unidentified source. We're not going to name people here, and I don't even know if this is true, but by God, if it is, this is quite possibly the most out of touch thing I've ever read anywhere. So, an unidentified source claims that Salim bought 250 high-end baby strollers with a price tag of $50,000 to put around the park to make it look like wealthier mothers were visiting. Did y'all hear that? Please tell me you heard that. $50,000 for high-end baby strollers to make it look like wealthier mothers, specifically, were visiting the park. So, I've got a task for everyone. When you go to your home park, let's look around. Let's see if I think it's going to be pretty obvious when it's a fake stroller that's not being attended by someone. Let's just look around. There's not really like a ton of strollers that are just kind of left out. So this should be pretty obvious to scope out. So let's see what happens with that, because it's going to be awesome. If it is true, this is going to be awesome. I mean that in a pretty effed up way. So that's kind of all the notes. I wanted to try to keep it as brief as possible. Looks like we're at about like 40-ish minutes, so not too bad. So I kind of want to give you all my thoughts here. Mike Spanos was not perfect, but I think he had the right idea in mind. He empowered, parks to take the money that they had allotted, make the improvements that they thought they needed. Obviously, lots of things were going on. Fiesta Texas being repainted, Six Flags Over Texas. There were so many infrastructural upgrades with buildings that were falling apart, and just thought processes, getting small things fixed. Fountains, just little animated features at rides, and it seems like Mike Spanos empowered that. Obviously, Six Flags goes through this cycle where you've got the kind of pain in the butt CEO that cuts pricing everywhere, and then you have the cleanup CEO that comes in for a few years, kind of loosens the reins, lets parks kind of clean things up. I really thought Mike Spanos was going to last a little bit longer. He made his fair share of personnel cuts. Let's not beat around the bush on that. But it did seem like they were letting the parks invest back into themselves, in very practical ways, to be honest with you. I don't really know how you turn this around with, Salim at the helm, because even if they were to do something drastic to try and get the consumer confidence back, get some of their guests back, you don't like the guy, right? Like he's got a bad attitude. Obviously he talks to people unprofessionally, and how would you ever gain confidence back when no one likes who's running your company? Like your employees don't like you. The guests are finding out, obviously, because no one's going to the park. That 3,200 daily attendance at Six Flags Over Texas, I've never heard anything like that. Even 9,100, which I assume was maybe on like the 4th of July, that's an abysmal number as well. Anything under 10,000 is incredibly slow. So like, how do you fix it? You've gotten rid of anyone who's experienced. Everybody hates you now because you have a terrible attitude. You don't know what you're doing. You're taking people's livelihoods. You make terrible comments. Where do you go from here? I mean, you can't really fix this with Salim. So I'm going to really go out on a limb here and say I think that they're trying to tank this whole thing, get it to bankruptcy, start selling off properties, and that used to just kind of be a joke with me internally, but it really seems like that's the end goal right now. Obviously, their stock tanked even more after the call, because the investor confidence is gone. What do you do? I mean, it's dead in the water. The whole company's dead in the water. You don't pay your employees enough, even though you're taking tons of money from us. I'm not gonna speak on what is the appropriate amount of money to pay someone, what's not the appropriate amount of money to pay someone, but under $10 at this rate, that's not enough. I don't know how you pay anyone less than $12, especially in this scenario, where, you've got a lot of competition in some of these areas. Fiesta Texas is competition from Seaworld. I'm sure that on the water park side, they probably have a little bit of competition from Schlitterbahn, which is Cedar Fair now. And then in DFW, I mean, there's just so much sprawling stuff. There's family entertainment centers. There's, all of these setups in these big cities, where people can go work inside and work for someone who's not going to treat them like crap. The morale's got to be like crazy low, and you're not going to fix that with the current structure. So, we'll see. I'm not going to, what I'm saying is not the gospel. It's just an opinion. But I just don't know, I guess we'll just see when Oktoberfest rolls around, right? Because that's totally going to happen. I think Six Flags already had an image that they were kind of, it's Six Flags, right? You're not expecting a lot. That's kind of the mentality. You're going to have a lot of fun on the rides. The park's probably not going to be super clean. It's probably not going to be painted. But you know what? It was cheap. We're going to have fun on the rides, and then we can leave. And our pass isn't that much, so we can come back later, ride the rides again, have fun, leave. They've alienated all those people. How do you get a higher group of people in when you've run everybody off? And then you get to the park hour thing, right? A lot of people, you work during the summer at another job. You get off of that job at 6, you go out to the park stays open until 10 or 11. That doesn't happen anymore. Obviously the morale of the employees that they talked about in the investor call, the morale is not good, because if it was, you would have employees, number one. Number two, they would not be begged to come in on their day off and paid a bonus to come in on their day off. I'm sure you all saw Six Flags Over Texas was closed 2 days last week. That's because they're running bare bones. They had to give people 2 days off. So they were closed, what was that, Tuesday, Wednesday? So, and then they're just running one shift when they're open. That doesn't really say, quality product. So I kind of preface that by saying, you can make the decision if you want to cancel your pass, cancel your membership. I know a lot of people are canceling their membership. For now, we're going to keep ours just so we can keep covering what's going on in the parks. I always try to be, a little bit positive when I go out there. I try to point out the good things that are happening. So we'll try to stay on that train as long as we can. One thing I gotta say is if you still plan on going out to the parks, just be nice to people. Be nice to the team members out there, the ride ops, the people working in foods. I know it's frustrating. No one's being trained correctly. Well, I won't say nobody, but you go to get food. It's very obvious that those people haven't been trained to do their job. They're not super confident. It shows on their face. Just be nice to those people, because it's a really crappy place to work right now. And I'm not going to speak for every park. This isn't a comment towards one park or the other. I've had good experiences at the parks this year. I've had bad experiences. It doesn't really matter what park it is. It happens at all of them. But just keep that in mind. So, what I want to do now is we'll kind of look at some comments, and feel free to throw some questions in the chat, and I can try my best to answer them. Obviously, I can only answer them from my perspective. I don't have a ton of insight. But I did see a few comments about the weather playing a part in the attendance issues at Six Flags. You know, it's hot. It's always been hot. It's hot as hell at Seaworld. Seaworld's got a park in San Antonio. It's hot as hell there. They've got a park in Orlando. It's hot as hell there. They've got a park in Tampa. It's hot, muggy, swamp butt weather. And they're knocking it out of the park. Cedar Fair, I mean, you know, their climates aren't as bad, but I mean, there's definitely parks that, you know, I was at Kings Island a few years ago, and it was pretty damn hot. So that's not really the problem. The problem is the level of offering is so low, the expectation is so low. And no one wants to spend that much money to go when you don't know what's going on. So Jay said, what's your opinion on the delayed date for Aquaman? At this point, I don't really care, man. It looks like they're still working on it, so it should be good to go for next year. The other crazy thing we heard about, to kind of follow up on this, I got from another undisclosed source that there's no capital projects going on for 3 to 5 years. In any of the parks. So if we can get a roller coaster next year, we got a new ride this year with Pirates of Spelunker Cave, so that's nice. We get Aquaman next year, and then 3 to 5 years, you don't get any new rides, at least under the current plan with what's going on. I was also told from another undisclosed source that, you know, other improvements around parks have kind of halted. So as you all know, Fiesta Texas really went out of their way to try and come up with a new design for Sangerfest Hall so that it's more functional and that it and apparently that whole project it's canceled. So what it is now is what it is. Obviously that's from an undisclosed source. Chris Bush, the lead at Six Flags. I worked at Six Flags for a handful of years. I know what it takes to keep things going, and like I said, be patient, folks. Be nice to the employees that are front lines in the park. They're not the problem. This is a corporate problem. So we know you're working with what you got, and be patient, everyone. If you're gonna go out there, let's see. Hershey is killing it right now, and the RMC coming will put in elite status. Yeah, I mean, everything about Hershey Park is fun. They've got good roller coasters, and even the classic parts of that park are in really good shape. You look at some of those flat rides that are super old, and they're in like perfect shape, and it's really cool to see them maintain everything at such a high level out there. And yeah, like Austin said, just be nice to people in general. That's a pretty good rule to follow. Let's see what else has been said. Y'all are kind of... Where is the announcement video? Oh, yeah. I mean, Hershey Park hasn't really confirmed that. That's just kind of what we think is going on. Let's see. Yeah, and like Blake said, he has the grandfather membership. I'm kind of in a hole. I'm kind of in that weird spot, too, where it's like too good to let go, and just knowing that Salim hates the fact that we have membership still makes me really not want to cancel it. You know, I don't always shop at Target, but I at least have enough money for a membership. Let's see. Yeah, the like Porcelain Thunder was saying, they went wild with the passes. You know, you got rid of the membership thing, which the writing was kind of on the wall for that. Then you went to where you just had the annual passes. Then they flipped it around and turned it back into a monthly thing because obviously that's what they needed to do to try and attract more people. Porcelain Thunder also said, you know, Six Flags America was getting better. I agree. I went to Six Flags America last year, and I had a great time. We even saw the park president, who's not the park president anymore, interacting with his team, and everything looked really positive, and everything was functioning really well. Random Vids 5 is at Fiesta, Texas right now for Rock the Night. Enjoy. I'm really glad that they're still getting to at least do their fireworks show, even if it's just one day a week. I know that's been a big fight for that park to retain some of the quality things that they provide day to day during the summer. Let's see here. We haven't made a decision on our passes for next year because we simply don't know what to expect. That's fair. That was Mark and Linda Freeman. Yeah, Thomas, I'm keeping my membership to spite Salim. I'm kind of in that boat too. I tried to not have as pointed of an opinion, but things are just a little ridiculous right now. And yeah, it's in the membership thing is interesting. They might force us to get rid of it, but it's also, you know, they might not because, you know, it's income for them right now, and they're clearly lacking in that Fanta Orange. I do shop at Target sometimes, but not all the time, so I'm not sure I fit Salim's demographic of who he wants in the park. I think you have to only shop at Target and above, and you know, sometimes I get groceries from other places, but don't tell him. Brandon Shea, what about Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey? So the one thing, Brandon, that I know about Great Adventure is that their park president was fired this past week, I believe on Monday. If he wasn't fired on Monday, he was fired the week before, or they. I don't actually know who that person is personally, but I guess maybe they had too many ideas that Salim didn't like. I don't really know. Richard asked if I've ever waited 15 minutes to use the restroom at Six Flags. No. But I can't say that I usually try to go to Six Flags when it's that busy either. The ironic thing about that restroom comment, Richard, is that they actually closed off a pathway at Six Flags Over Texas that eliminates one of the restroom locations in that park. So that's just another non-based comment that Salim made that leads to nowhere. They demoted full-time employees. Let's see, where did that go? There it is. Larry Douglas. They demoted full-time employees, paid severance, and let them keep their hourly equivalent pay. How does that save money? It doesn't, but also your full-time employees are pretty valuable to that company. That doesn't really seem like a place where you'd want to cut costs, you know, people who are holding it all together. Let's see. Wow, Mark and Linda Freeman, y'all shop at Aldi. That's not going to fly with Salim, I'm sorry. I won't tell him, though. let's see. Ooh, HEB. I think that might be higher than Walmart, but I don't know if in Salim's eyes, um, if that is the same level as Target, even though they're really not that far off. I mean, it's all perception, anyways. Um, so LaRonde, yeah, Sylvain. I don't know if I'm saying that right. LaRonde. I actually don't know a lot about LaRonde. I know that they were supposed to build that new roller coaster and they didn't do it. So I would assume that falls into the scenario that we're dealing with right now. Um, Gaming with AK. I'm really liking Aquaman. Um, yeah, I'm excited about Aquaman. It should be a really good ride. It's built by Mock Rides, and you know, Mock Rides builds really high quality stuff, so it should be a lot of fun. It should be a really reliable ride. Um, let's see. Richard, no, I did not see that social media influencer thing. I am pretty bad about doing the social media thing, even though we've got all this. We're on YouTube right now, live streaming, and we've got the websites and all that. So I'm not too privy to that. Jay said, I really don't know if Fright Fest or this Oktoberfest will be a good thing with a skeleton crew. Yeah, we'll see what happens. It does really seem like they're trying to push Fright Fest. And like I said, I think Oktoberfest was just him not knowing the product. But maybe that is going to exist somewhere and they just haven't, they don't market anything anymore. This is a transitional year, so you don't want anyone to know about anything. But we'll see. Brandon Shea said, what about Six Flags Magic Mountain? It looks like they're running pretty well. Xander Lee, who's in the chat, was at Magic Mountain yesterday, and he said things were running pretty well. Their operations were good, so hopefully that keeps up there. I know that they're not immune to a lot of the layoffs, so we'll have to see. Porcelain Thunder comparison. Dollywood, misting fans every few hundred feet. Six Flags, a garden sprinkler zip tied to a fence post. Yep. That's pretty good. So Wonjay Lee is asking about the new trains for Boomerang at Fiesta, Texas. As far as I know, that's already a done deal. So that, a lot of decisions were made and I think pushed through. So you have the third train for Iron Rattler coming to Fiesta, Texas. It's already being built. Should be there sometime in October. And Hamel's Duck, as an ex amusement park maintenance worker, they are the last folks you want to have quit. Yeah, and especially if they've been around for a while. Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Six Flags St. Louis was my home park. That's actually one of the parks I haven't been to, G-Man. I need to get out there at some point, obviously. The brawling, no theme park is immune to the fights. Cedar Fair is dealing with that. Disney deals with that a lot more than y'all probably think, but they counteract that by doing rules. So, curfews, things like that. It seems to be working for a lot of these parks. So, just a little more accountability on the guest makes a big difference. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Fright Fest. Do y'all really think it's going to get that busy? Because most of the clientele that I think go to Fright Fest, which is a younger crowd, I don't think they're going to pay ticket price to go do that. So full ticket price to do that. Owen, I have no idea what's going on with Fright Fest at Six Flags Over Texas, what it's going to be like. I assume probably all the haunted houses that they already had are coming back. I don't know anything else because anyone that talked to me about Fright Fest has been fired. So who knows? Who knows? Brian Hunberger, yeah, Six Flags does use exchange students, and they've been relying on those just to operate the limited hours that they've been, just the 11 to 6. They've been relying on those exchange employees for that. Let's see. Yeah, over Fright Fest at Six Flags Over Texas is September 24th to October 31st as of right now. So a little bit shorter than normal, but it looks like it's still going to be the normal length at Fiesta Texas. I can't speak on the other parks. I don't really cover them too much. Let's see. Joy talking about Screamscape Rumors. I mean, everything on that website you got to kind of take with a grain of salt as it is. It is a rumor website. But it does sound like any big capital project that may have been planned is off the table right now, based off the financial situation they're in. MHS0407 is asking, where can I find out when and how much my Legacy Diamond Elite VIP membership is going to increase? Go to your member portal, mypass.sixflags.com, and then at the top, there should be like a manage my account drop down. If you go to like the payment page, it's going to tell you if it's increasing and how much it's going to increase by. So you'll see that there. If you are getting an increase, it's going to hit either late August or in September. Just how they paste it out, it's kind of weird. Let's see. Don't some of the passes they're currently selling have blackout dates? Yeah. So the lowest full season pass, I think it's the Thrill Seekers pass. There's a few blockout dates on there. Some of the blockout dates that they had on there were canceled. So we'll see what happens during Fright Fest. They had like some spring, one or two spring blockout dates that were actually lifted because they didn't have enough people coming into the park. So they let those Thrill Seeker Pass people in. Someone was asking, how come the new season passes you have to pay every month like you do with the membership? Because they're essentially memberships, just with a higher price point. Do you think the parks will be sold off with the current CEO? Jay, it really does seem like maybe that's where they're pushing, to just start selling stuff off. We'll have to wait and see. Unfortunately, some of these parks aren't going to remain parks if they get sold off. They will probably be closed and the land will be sold. But we'll see what happens. And Brandon, I'm not too familiar with Great Adventures Fright Fest, so I can't really speak on that. Let's see, which parks do you think would be the ones to be sold off? All of them. There's a few parks that have a limited partnership involved, so that gets a little bit tricky. Fanta Orange, how long do you think we have left if this continues? I can't really speak on the chain as a whole, but I think Salim is going to be in very hot water if they get to the next quarter and things are this abysmal, unless they just start going crazy at the end of this year. Top 10 Six Flags parks in America. Man, that shifts around a lot. I like Six Flags parks for completely different reasons. So Over Texas, I like the fact that it has the history aspect. Great adventure. I like that they've got the collection of rides that they do. Fiesta Texas, they're always pretty good about shows. And if you really want to catch a wide array of shows, that's a good one to go to. You've got Magic Mountain, obviously. The roller coaster lineup there is awesome. It's a great. The area is really pretty. Six Flags Over Georgia, I think, is the landscaping there is pretty. It's the second park. There's a handful of Six Flags parks I haven't been to yet, so I can't really speak on that. Thomas said, I'm worried about Fiesta Texas if they go the sell-off route. Fiesta Texas is like so crazy profitable for them right now that, it would definitely stay a theme park. I don't see why that would be a thing. My former park is Magic Mountain, so I'm new here. I don't know how you go from Magic Mountain down to this. How would Angus G. Wynn react if he could see the state of that the company is in today? So I'm going to give you a little insight on the history of Six Flags, because a lot of people kind of go this route. Angus G. Wynn went to Disneyland and saw how profitable that product was and said, I can go back to Texas and build that. And what we can do is we can keep Six Flags Over Texas open for 5 years, make a bunch of money for other projects, and after 5 years, just tear the park down and then take the money we have and work on other stuff. So, Angus ultimately wasn't like a hardcore theme park person, in my opinion. It was definitely more of a financial investment. Obviously, Disney is a huge just financial gain type of situation, but it was never sold off. There was never the thought of like, this is a short term, we're just going to tear it down. So definitely the thought process is a little bit, very different in those two. So obviously we get to the 5-year mark and Angus G. Wynn says, well, I can't shut this down. It makes too much money. So eventually Six Flags was sold off. It was sold off. He didn't even own it for a decade, run it for a decade. So, I don't really think Angus would care. He wouldn't be involved. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. Six Flags Over Texas has like a limited trust involved. So yeah, they're not really actually owned by Six Flags wholly, if that makes sense. But that trust is coming up soon. The kind of the agreements there, that's coming up. So if we make it that long, that could get interesting. Porcelain Thunder, Great Escape. I was actually told that Great Escape has had a pretty good year. It's one of the few parks that has had a pretty decent year. That's what I've been told. Obviously, I don't have any numbers to back that, but it was interesting to hear. Do I think Frontier City will get any new additions? Not being run by Six Flags, no. It seems like all of that's frozen right now. Let's see. How is Superman Krypton Coaster, and how is the new ride at Six Flags Fiesta Texas? Superman Krypton Coaster is not my favorite floorless coaster. It's a unique layout, which is nice. It's definitely kind of got that B&M shimmy in it, if you know what I'm talking about there. A little rattly. The Dr. Diabolical's cliffhanger at Fiesta Texas was very surprisingly good. I've been on a couple other dive coasters around the country, and they're kind of one-trick ponies. You have that really awesome effect at the beginning, and then they kind of just coast along after that. But this one, it's got the 2 inversions. You dive off of the brake run, which is a lot of fun. You've got that last airtime hill, so a lot of good elements. It's compact. It's in a really good spot. Get really unique views of the park. Let's see. Will SFOT get any new rides? Well, I mean, they'll get Aquaman next year. So they got Pirates this year. They're getting Aquaman next year, based off of what they've said. Beyond that, I don't really think there's anything substantial planned. And someone's asking, excited for Aquaman? Yeah, I think Aquaman's going to be a really fun ride, especially if you like water rides. But it should be a nice high-quality addition. Like I said, Mock Rides is a really good manufacturer. So that should be pretty good. Also, what do you think the next ride at SFOT will be? Who knows? I can't even assume on that one. I think that whole thing is shut down. I don't think we're looking at any new rides under the current scope. Let's see. Six Flags St. Louis Park president, quote, retired apparently. So, yeah, I don't know a lot about St. Louis, but one of the things I didn't say, a lot of high level team members at Six Flags have just straight up walked out. So, they're not doing it. They're not doing it anymore. Wayne, they are advertising Aquaman for the spring, so we don't have an exact date, but it should be sometime in the spring for Aquaman next year. Someone asked, how's the new Texas Giant? It's pretty good, especially with it being the first RMC hybrid. It's lots of fun, lots of good airtime if you're into airtime. I do think it's better than Twisted Colossus for sure. Twisted Colossus was fun, but I think New Texas Giant's better. I do think Iron Gwazi is the best RMC coaster. I know a lot of people, that's a loaded comment, so we'll leave it at that. But New Texas Giant, yeah, it's a lot of fun. If Six Flags has to keep the same parks to rebuild in the future, which park do you think they would keep? When I say sell, I mean, like, it goes away. Six Flags goes away. All the parks go wherever they go. So that's kind of where I am on this whole, if they have to start selling stuff off, like it's over. Let's see, when you walked around, you're talking about Six Flags Over Texas. You see the fence near the rodeo area that says path improvements. As far as I was told, they were trying to get more traffic through that Old South area to the dining locations. And that is the main reason that pathway is closed. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds like definitely something that they would do at this point. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much of a problem child Aquaman is, and I don't not believe them when they say they're having issues getting parts and things like that. You build the whole structure. Then you go back and redesign it to build the turntable, and then you deal with all the other stuff, all the other logistical things going on. I mean, it's kind of a mess, but it was the right decision. Let's see. And what Chris said about the trust, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Someone asked, New Texas Giant or Iron Rattler? That's a tough one. I think New Texas Giant has more to offer, if that makes sense. It's a longer circuit. You've got more airtime moments. The first drop on Iron Rattler is great, and that roll the inversion you do over the cliff wall, I think is phenomenal. But beyond that, I do think New Texas Giant is a little bit better. Um, let's see. Yeah, Hershend, I do think, was interested in Six Flags Over Texas, but I have no idea where that stands now. Um, what's my favorite park? SFOT or Fiesta? Um, that's another loaded one for me because I like them for completely different reasons. I think Over Texas has a better mix of roller coasters. You've got New Texas Giant, you've got Mr. Freeze, Shockwave. Um, I think that there's just a more unique mix there. Fiesta hasn't really stepped up their roller coaster game until the last 5 to 10 years, which they're obviously doing a good job flushing out. But Fiesta, I think the theming is a little more, little bit better flowing, a little bit more easy on the eyes, and of course they do a really good job with their events. So I like Fiesta for that. Yeah, and like Chris said, there's definitely some other players in the game for parks. Yeah, I mean, Thomas, looks like Codaland is building some great stuff. They're going to have some really unique rides. So it's definitely going to be a destination that I think people should go check out once that thing really gets running. Porcelain Thunder, I think that the licensing they have with DC Comics is probably way too valuable to dump, but I could definitely see them dumping Warner Brothers and maybe getting rid of the Looney Tunes, but that's all speculation. Do you think they will have Holiday in the Park this year? Well, there's no Holiday in the Park ads on the Over Texas website. They have them on the Fiesta Texas website. However, just a week ago when we were at Six Flags Over Texas, they did have Holiday in the Park banners up advertising the event. So hopefully they didn't get some crazy idea that they should cancel that, because that would be a very that would be a really wild thing to do, in my opinion. And yeah, everyone's experiencing supply shortages. It is what it is. That's where we're at now. It's affecting every industry. Theme park rides are pretty specialized too, so that doesn't help. Dr. D better than Superman? I think it is. Let's see. Yeah, Cody, I don't think anyone is really too pleased with the Gotham City section. It does look like a parking lot carnival in a way. Night Owl Slots is talking about the show situation at Over Texas. It is really bizarre to just put all of your shows outside. I don't really know. I don't know what's going on with that. Majestic Theater, this is probably going to be very disappointing news. But they actually, when they built that haunted house in there last year, they actually ripped out all of the seating in Majestic Theater for the haunted house. So if they wanted to turn Majestic back into an actual performance venue, they would have to spend money, and we know how that is. That's not going to happen. And then you've got to pay an air conditioning bill to let people in there, and that doesn't seem to be a thing anywhere anymore either. Let's see. If SFOT doesn't have Holiday in the park is truly lost. Yeah, like Coaster Family Feud said, there is a Holiday in the Park sign up at SFOT. It would be a huge mistake for them to do that, so hopefully, I don't know, obviously the website doesn't have a valuable amount of information on it regarding Holiday in the Park. Well, you're not paying for the air conditioning, so yeah. Let's see. So apparently, Six Flags Over Texas has actually had multiple park presidents since Ron McKenzie was let go, and the individual that is not the park president anymore apparently was very flustered that some of the shops and dining locations at the park had their doors open and yelled, "Who's paying the AC bill here?" Which is, man, talk about how out of touch you are. Mark and Linda Freeman, I thought they were rehabbing the inside of Southern Palace. It did look like they were doing that. It's just bizarre to me that the theater is dark for months at a time with no shows in it, and then you pick your summer to rehab that when you should be probably having a show in there. Let's see. What is the best seat on Dr. D? I think if you want the most intense ride, you sit in the back row on the right. But obviously sitting in the front in the center is a really good experience too, especially if you want, if you really want that, hanging off the edge experience, that's where you're going to want to sit. Let's see. Do you think Texas theater is going to be used? Will the construction back there amount to anything? Probably referring to Texas Arena at Six Flags Over Texas. No, it's not going to be used for anything. It's just going to be haunted houses. If it doesn't just get torn down. The construction that they were doing in there, they were just tearing out the old set from the old Wild West stunt show. So there wasn't anything substantial going on in there. They were just doing some clearing out. For me, Chris asks, for me personally, what do I consider a premium park experience? For me, a premium park experience is really, I think, just it's gotta be multi-dimensional. So, you walk into Seaworld in the spring when they're doing the Seven Seas Food Festival. So, number one, you've got all of the animal experiences, which is one thing. We'll equal that to entertainment. You've got you've got the rides, so that's another dimension to the experience. But then you've got this super awesome reason to go, because you've got this high quality food festival that you can do. And even right now, you go to SeaWorld right now, they're doing the beer festival. So you can, if you're into beer, you can try all these different kinds of beers. And I think another thing, premium experience wise, obviously a park that's being maintained, a park that's buildings aren't falling apart, the rides have been repainted, in a decent amount of time, consistent operations, consistent food service, all honestly really basic things, but just other stuff to do than jump on a roller coaster. I don't know how you retain people with that. I mean, if you go to Disney right now, you've got the Food and Wine Festival happening at Epcot, you've got fireworks, there's other things to do than just the bare minimum, and that's the problem, is that there's only the bare minimum, and sometimes there's not even the bare minimum to do at these Six Flags parks. So that's very troubling when you're pushing for a premium experience. Someone asked if Cedar Fair bought SFOT an idea for a video. We can definitely look into that. That would, for me, that would take a while to really muster up. Let's see. Yeah, Night Owl. I used to work in entertainment too, and I mean, there's always been water under under the stage and all that. It's a mess. Let's see. And yeah, I think Fiesta Texas generally was really striving for that. The 30th anniversary festival was a lot of fun. You've got Mardi Gras. You've got all the food offerings, you've got the parade, you've got the specific entertainment, all things that are really the basis of running a theme park. And if they're being done well, then it's going to be a good experience, and you will have people, for me, like, it's like, I love Mardi Gras Festival because I think the food's good. So seeing that Fiesta Texas is advertising a Mardi Gras Festival again next year, I'm like, okay, I got to go back. The parade's a lot of fun. The food's, I love the food festival part of it. Same thing with SeaWorld. When that Seven Seas Food Festival rolls around, I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's see. Cody, the best possible outcome. Obviously, I think they would probably need to scale down the amount of parks that they're managing and running and owning. You would have to have a cleanup CEO come in and run things for a while. And, hopefully, hopefully you get to a point where you can manage those pretty well and get them back to a respectable point. But I think with all the dramatics that the current CEO has created, it's going to take a really, it's going to take a really long time to get people back. It's really easy to just push people to the side and alienate them really quickly. It's really hard to get people back, and right now they're not going to do that. Do you think other parks will adapt the dining meal plan since Six Flags is blaming? I mean, so I know for sure Disney has kind of paused their dining plan situation. You can still do the daily dining plans at the SeaWorld parks. I believe Cedar Fair still has a whole dining plan set up. So really, as far as a dining plan, it was just too cheap. That was really the main problem. The dining plan was too cheap. And I think we can all agree that paying for something a month to get, 2 meals and a snack each visit is a little bit wild. Who's the current park president at SFOT? Her name is Sharon Parker. She's actually been with Six Flags for quite a while. So she's familiar with the product. She's familiar with Six Flags Over Texas. That's where she has spent most of her time. So, hopefully that's working out. Obviously I don't. There's such a low ceiling on what the parks are getting to do on their own right now. So I'm not really sure it matters who the park presidents are. I think there might be a little bit more leverage at, there might be a little bit more leverage down at Fiesta Texas with their park president situation, just because things have been so productive and substantial down there. But other than that, I'm not really sure. Let's see. Do you see the current CEO gone anytime soon? That's really hard for me to call. I mean, seems like they're gonna keep letting him skate right now. But I think if we get to the next quarterly call and it's abysmal again, then we've got a different situation on our hands. But it seems like right now maybe he's probably in good shape. What would get you to come back to or support the parks again? Well, obviously, because I'm privy to what's going on, they're going to need a new corporate structure. We need someone who is an actual leader and has actual productive thoughts and ways to fix the product. And that's a good first start. Obviously, investments into the product, just from a day-to-day standpoint, more events, just special reasons to come out besides riding the same roller coaster that's been there for 40 years. would be good, because that's really all there is to do there right now. Just like I said, adding multi-dimensional things. Do you think Six Flags will start a chaperone policy since Salim said it's a cheap daycare? They don't have any guests there anymore, so you don't really need a chaperone policy. Why is Six Flags using the old ball field as their headquarters? I actually think the city set up some kind of nice deal with them. So I actually think it was probably beneficial to them for them to be there from a money standpoint. Let's see. Night Owl, yeah, I thought the Splash Parade was a really smart idea, and the parade that they did during Holiday in the Park last year I thought was a really smart idea. It probably needed a little bit more structure to be executed a little more effectively, but parades are a great idea. That's a good way to retain people in your park, keep them in your park longer. But yeah, the Splashwater Parade was a lot of fun, and it was supposed to keep going. I know that Fiesta Texas was supposed to get it, and then it was going to travel back up to over Texas. But obviously, with everything going on with COVID, it's kind of any decision that was made in that span of time, that's all dead. But y'all, I think we're going to start winding down here. I appreciate everyone, coming out. It means a lot to have y'all sit here and listen to me blab for a while. So hopefully if you weren't too in tune with what's going on, this helped a little bit. And it's always fun to talk to everyone. If you see me in the park, don't be afraid to come say hi. I know a lot of you have. What do you think if Titan got reprofiled by B&M? I'm not a big fan of Titan. It could be a wild airtime machine, and it's not. So I don't know. I don't really think B&M, B&M's not really. Their airtime situation is a little complicated sometimes, so we'll just leave it at that. Let's see. Richard, I'll answer a couple more here. Can we speak on what events have been canceled so far? So, Six Flags over Texas, they did have the Fire and Ice Winter Festival planned again this year, and it was cut last minute. So that's why you still saw a weekend or two of fireworks from the oil derrick at the top of the year. They were intended to be part of the Fire and Ice Winter Festival. I can't speak on what else SFOT. I can't speak on what else was planned because anyone who would have planned it is long gone. But I would assume they were probably trying to, do more of, like Best of Texas, Viva La Fiesta, a lot of just little fun little things spread out through here. As far as other parks, obviously a lot of parks lost Holiday in the Park. Frontier City is one of the parks that lost that. Frontier City also had their whole concert season canceled for the summer. And at Fiesta Texas, they had their All-American Food Festival planned, which was canceled. They also had their beer festival, which is supposed to run in line with Fright Fest. That's also been canceled. So they've mainly been hit on the food festival thing. Fright Fest and Holiday in the Park is obviously still on there. We'll have to see in terms of entertainment offerings what's been cut. Hopefully they can keep most of that intact. But like I said, everyone, thank y'all so much for coming. We're gonna work on more videos from the parks. We're gonna still keep going. We'll keep going to Six Flags over Texas. We'll head out to Fiesta Texas again once we get to Halloween, and we're trying to mix a little bit more Seaworld in there because a lot of people have asked for more Seaworld content, and for good reason. They've got a lot of stuff going on, so we want to cover it as much as we can. So like I said, everyone, thanks for joining us, and we will see you again soon. So y'all have a good evening, stay safe, and don't stay outside too long. It's super hot.